Taking off the gloves, I've had enough, it's in my blood. I was born for this.
Happy New Year, everybody. It is January 1st. Hopefully everybody's having a great new year. And I'm out here grinding, already putting in the work and doing those super ridiculous, super early fantasy football top 10 running backs here on January 1st. Now, this is super early, but understand, guys, we're heading into week 17 of 2020, but I'm already talking 2021. Why? Because you got to skate to where the puck's going. 99% of you guys are done your fantasy leagues already looking for that information going into 2021. I've got the stats, I've got the data, I've got the analytics, I've got the top finishers of 2020. And what I'm not going to do here for you is I'm not going to copy and paste and say, hey, these guys finished on top. They're all going to finish on top again. So what you're not going to get here, you're not going to get it. So if you want to get the copy and paste rankings, you're on the wrong page. This is why we win championships. I was the guy that scouted out. And again, if you guys go look at Jefferson, right? Go take a look at Jefferson, wide receiver for the Vikings. I'm going to pull him up here right now. Okay, Justin Jefferson finished 8th amongst wide receivers this past season. He was ranked 59th on the consensus. But in my 16-round draft solution, this is the guy I was telling you to stash on your bench. A guy that was a wide receiver 2-3 on my roster because I knew he was going to be a plug and play. And I look at the facts. I deep dive. I don't just copy and paste. Again, this is an example, right? There's a ton of other examples. Another example of what I said is don't draft Godwin in the second round because he had a pinnacle year, coming off a pinnacle year. Now, I'm talking wide receivers here in this example. But where did Godwin finish? I don't see him in the top 10. Mike Evans even finished outside of the top 10. He finished 11th. And I said, be careful with these guys, okay? There's too many options there. Brady spreads the ball around. Be cautious. Yet he was across the board in the second round pick across the board. Both wide receivers, Evans and Godwin, were in the top 10. So I want to approach 2021 with a fresh mindset to the people that are new to this channel. And I want to make you guys aware and say, hey, what happened last year, it doesn't work that way this year. Again, Saquon Barkley, a guy I was wrong on. Listen, I helped you dodge the Christian McCaffrey bull. I knew he was going to decline. There was no doubt about that, whether injury. I knew he, Cinderella year. So I thought I'd compensate with Saquon, for example. Saquon didn't even do it. So that's why I went robust RB, and I backed myself up and had a lot of depth on my roster. The point I'm trying to make is, even when you're thinking outside the box, it's challenging. So imagine just copying and pasting, because everyone said Christian McCaffrey. I knew that he was going to decline, so I thought outside the box, and then that didn't even work sometimes with the first overall pick I'm talking about specifically. I was fine. I had a depth. We were good, right? The point I'm trying to make is, if you just do what the sheep are doing, you have no chance of winning the fantasy league. You got to go to that extreme example of the first overall pick of last year. It was a crazy year overall. A lot of those first round picks didn't do well. Another example was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Everybody was on the Clyde Edwards-Helaire train. Everyone's, except for me. I'm like, guys, be cautious. He's not going to get a ton of volume. It's his rookie year. The Chiefs throw the ball a lot. There were so many variables that made me hesitate, yet the mainstream were like all over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I understood the upside. So the point I'm trying to make is, we're in 2021. I'm going to go over the top 10 running backs here, the super early list right now. But something you want to go into 2021 knowing is that you got to come in with a fresh mindset and say, hey, things aren't what they appear to be. Yet the mainstream, the consensus, are going to lie to you and tell you, hey, this is the way things are, right? This is the way it's got to be. These are the top finishers last year. Draft them again in that order. Why do they do that? Because they want to save face. They don't want to look bad. They want to get the popular opinion. Another example we talk about is Odell Beckham Jr. 3 years in a row, right? Except for last year. Last year he was drafted in the third round by the mainstream. He was drafted in the first round. He's busted 4 years in a row, yet they still ride the Odell Beckham train because it's Odell Beckham Jr. It's a popular name, popular opinion, and they don't look bad by saying that, right? It's all fake news, okay? So you need to be aware of that going into this season, okay? So we're going to go over the top 10 list. I'm going to start from 10, go all the way down to 1. Before we get into that, guys, make sure you do subscribe to this channel, the #1 fantasy football podcast, #1 on social media. If you're not following my Instagram, head over, do that at Fantasy Football Counselor. And already you guys can dive into my 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below, or go to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. And up until the Super Bowl, I'm going to be doing a Zoom giveaway. Yes, Zoom. You get to Zoom call with Chris CJ2K Johnson if you guys pre-order right now the 16-round draft solution, or Fantasy 365, which is an amazing community where we can chat. I'm going to be chatting with you guys at Fantasy 365 all year round, okay? So either you pre-order 16 rounds or Fantasy 365, you get a chance to win. There's going to be 10 winners, guys. There's a good odds that you're going to win. 10 winners to chat via Zoom with Chris CJ2K Johnson on February 9th, doing the draw after the Super Bowl. So guys, get in right now. I'm telling you, you're going to absolutely love it. Pre-order 16 rounds. You're going to crush your leagues and a chance to win an actual chat with a former future Hall of Famer, Chris CJ2K Johnson, former top elite fantasy player, okay? All right, so top 10 running backs. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to explain my decisions on why I'm going through this. Again, it's super early, so guys, bear with me. This is not how it's going to end up most likely. As we get closer to the season, because again, we have to wait for the draft. After the draft, that's when the real rankings come out. But we're having fun here. I'm trying to just lay it out, get the foundation, think ahead of the curve here, to get you guys get that edge already. All right, so 10. I'm going to go here with 10, and we're talking PPR, guys. I'm going to go David Montgomery. Now, David Montgomery finished 6th amongst running backs. This was a guy that I was really high on coming out of the draft and ending up on the Bears. I was all over David Montgomery. Now the consensus are riding him. He had a great last 4 games of the season down the stretch. And the cool thing about him is he finished 7th in attempts. So I like that he was getting the volume. Now, what was hindering him this last, the season before and even the beginning of this season was Nagy with the play calling. Terrible play calling. As soon as kind of the other coaches came in and said, hey, we're going to take over the play calling, other people got involved, and there weren't Nagy. He started getting more volume. Not to mention, Tariq Cohen down was the best thing happened to David Montgomery, because what was happening, I was watching David Montgomery, being a David Montgomery owner back in 2019 and also in 2020, is that Tariq Cohen was coming in and basically shutting down his momentum. So he would get into a groove, he would do really well, Nagy would do the terrible play calling, and it would take his momentum off. Once that stopped, once that pest that is Tariq Cohen, he's not a good running back. He's a pass catching back that can't even catch the ball. Once he went down, it was the best news ever for David Montgomery. And I don't care. Well, you're praising injury. It's a good thing if you're a David Montgomery owner, okay? It's not that I'm happy they're injured. I'm just happy they're out of the way for David Montgomery. So that's the bottom line. So when David Montgomery had the pest out of the way, we knew that he was going to thrive, and that's exactly what happened here with Montgomery. Finished 6th in PPR amongst running backs. He had 225 attempts, over 1,000 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, and 7 rushing touchdowns. Not a bad season considering he really got going the last 4 weeks of the season pretty much. You got going like week 13, 14, 15, 16. He had good weeks, started crushing it. Hopefully that momentum carries over into the next season. So I've got him sitting here at 10. That's definitely probably going to change. You could go up or down based on the NFL draft in April. But again, this is super early. We're having some fun here, and this is going to change, okay? Coming at number 9, I got James Robinson. The reason I have James Robinson, he did finish 4th amongst running backs. This guy could be a top 2 running back next year. He really can. I mean, what's really appealing to him is that the Jags can improve next year, especially if they get Trevor Lawrence. That offense improves. This guy could, again, my rankings are going to change. This is very early, super early actually. But what I like about him is that he can only get better as that offense gets better. It could with Trevor Lawrence. Not to mention he was 4th in rushing attempts, which is very appealing to me. I absolutely love that. Another good thing, he had 250 fantasy points, which put him 4th in PPR. Pretty remarkable. So he did finish 4th. I'm not going to paste him over as 4th right now. I'm going to chill out for a little bit and just take a look at the situation, see how the draft ends up, see where he ends up. But right now I got him at 9th, easily top 10 based on what I've seen last year. Again, when you're looking at rushing yards as well, really nice, 1,070, putting him 3rd in rushing yards. And surprisingly, a lot of these running backs didn't rush for a lot of yards. It was actually only back in 2020, there's only 5 running backs that ran over 1,000 yards. David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, James Robinson, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry. So when you're looking at these guys, there is not a lot of guys that rush over 1,000 yards because the workhorse running back, it's starting to fade out a little bit. There's more of these committees coming up. Everyone's trying to be all cute with their play calling. But again, what I like about James Robinson is that he got the volume. Okay, 240 attempts. That's very appealing, especially at a undrafted rookie. Love the opportunity. Okay, so I got him at 9th. So I'm being a little bit cautious. Stick with me here. Okay, coming in at number 8, I gotta go with Zeke Elliott. Now, Zeke Elliott has been a top running back every year he's pretty much played. And what made him a top running back is the attempts. So 301 attempts for Zeke Elliott is kind of where he hovered around. This year with McCarthy coming in, we kind of saw it. He does throw the ball a lot, or requests that the team throws the ball a lot. The injury to Dak, they kind of became more of a throw-first team. Dak getting hurt, that really hindered Zeke Elliott. Then he had some injuries to deal with. So it really brought his value. But here's the surprising thing about Zeke Elliott. Coming off one of the worst years of his career, he only had 230 attempts, still managed to average 4.1 yards per carry, got 5 rushing touchdowns, and still finished in the top 10. Now, again, this is after 16 weeks. I'm doing this super early, so we still got one more week to factor in. A lot of people don't play week 17, but I want to make you aware that he finished 10th, top 10 still, give or take one or two positions, okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is that Zeke Elliott finished top 10 amongst running backs even after he had a bad year. So I got him plugged in here at 8. That could change. It could go up. I got to see what happens with that offense moving forward. But again, Zeke Elliott, top 10, got him sitting here at 8th. Pretty easy for me. He's going to still be a workhorse. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. Pollard came in, did well with Zeke being hurt. Is Pollard going to be more of a factor? Are they going to trade Zeke eventually? What's going to happen? I don't know yet, right? We don't know. As of right now, January 1st, 2021, getting that content out to you really quick, I got Zeke Elliott at number 8, okay? Coming in at number 7, a guy that finished, where did he finish here? Josh Jacobs finished 9th last year. I'm not a fan of Josh Jacobs. If you follow my social media, Josh Jacobs wanted to fight me in a boxing match. We agreed to it. I know it sounds crazy, but listen, Josh Jacobs hates your fantasy team. He really does. And he really crapped the bed near the end of the season. He only had 6.9 points in week 16, where it was fantasy championships. Didn't do well. 17 the week before, 7.4, 2.4 the week before. So he really, down the stretch, did not do well. I've got him 7th for a couple reasons. Number 1, he's still the workhorse on that offense. Number 2, he did finish top 10. There is a couple other reasons, but listen, at the end of the day, the main reason is he still is the workhorse. That's the bottom line. He finished top 10, and again, he didn't do well near the stretch of that season. So a couple things to factor in. I will personally not be drafting Josh Jacobs this upcoming season for many reasons, including the fact that, again, he wanted to box. He did chirp at me, and the fact that he doesn't like your fantasy teams. He doesn't care. But what's weird about these players that don't like your fantasy teams is the fact that they have to like your fantasy team because it's directly proportional. It's in parallel. It's in line with them producing. So if they produce fantasy points, they're producing reality points, which pads their statistics and in turn helps their team, right? So Josh Jacobs, I got him at 7. I don't feel warm and fuzzy about him at all, but I got to put him in there based on the number of statistics, where he finished, and the potential upside of him getting better based on this past year. I got to put him in there, okay? Coming in at number 6. Now, some people may disagree with this. He finished 7th last year, but I love the upside, love the opportunity, and love the fact that he should and could be the workhorse there in Indy. The guy I'm talking about is Jonathan Taylor. Finished 7th last year in points, 916 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 9 rushing touchdowns. But he started coming alive again near the end of the season. That's something you got to take a look at. Now, I'm very good at spotting trends. We saw this with David Johnson back, I believe it was end of 2015 it was, or 2016, the year before he had his real breakout year, his record year, I think it was 2016. We saw near the end of the season before he started turning it up, okay? We saw the same thing with Derrick Henry before he really broke out a couple years ago. He started turning up near the end of the season. It's something to watch, and we're seeing that with guys like David Montgomery. We're seeing it with Jonathan Taylor. They are turning it up near the end of the season. So he started to get a little more volume, started to get some touchdowns. Now he had 5 touchdowns in combined week 14, 15, and 16. So we see that he is getting the goal line work, well-deserved. I think he had a couple nagging injuries. He had a couple things, didn't happen well for him. They started integrating a committee there. Phillip Rivers was there. Hopefully they bring in another quarterback. There is buzz about Carson Wentz. I'm not really a Carson Wentz fan, but anything is better than Phillip Rivers. I think, honestly, once you get another quarterback that's more integrated in the system, a more reliable quarterback other than Phillip Rivers, I think that's going to inflate Jonathan Taylor as long as they keep using him as the workhorse running back. Now, something to note, he was 8th in rushing attempts, which is very interesting here. That's good. That's getting the volume. But again, he didn't really get going till mid to late season. So I want to see more. I see some upside. I'd like to see 250 attempts minimum out of him. He is a workhorse guy. If you remember in college, he was a workhorse guy. I want to see more out of him. So I love the upside, love the opportunity, love the talent. I think Jonathan Taylor, if used properly, can be a workhorse going into next year. So I got him currently sitting at number 6, okay? Coming at number 5. Now, who's number 1? That's the big question. Stay tuned. We're going to get to that. Coming to number 5, this guy finished first amongst running backs in PPR. Guy I'm talking about is Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin Kamara, most people are going to have him number 1, understandably so, because he finished number 1 in standard with 294.8 points. Even in standard, he finished number 1, and he also finished number 1 with 377 points in PPR. Now you're saying, Joe, why is he number one? Well, other than the obvious reason that when you finish number one, you're not going to finish number one again 2 years in a row. Again, the mainstream are going to probably put him at number one, or probably put him at number two, or probably put him at number three. Understandably so, okay? This is going to be very interesting because there is guys like CMC, Saquon, Dalvin Cook, Henry, that can shoot his love again because they're riding that train as well. Understandably so as well. So when you're looking at Alvin Kamara, though, you got to look at that one last game he had where he had like 6 touchdowns. That definitely inflated his numbers at the end of the season. That gave him an extra 50 points right near the end of the season, which put him ahead of guys like Dalvin Cook, which gave him that last push, right? So when you're looking at Alvin Kamara, I got him at 5 because, again, he is always kind of that guy that's part of a committee coming off a pinnacle year. He's really dependent on the receptions because when you look at his attempts, when I look at a running back, I really look at those attempts. When you look at his attempts, they're just not there. He's 12th in attempts with 187 attempts, 932 yards rushing, 16 rushing touchdowns. I don't know what's going to happen next year. Is he going to get more volume? Are they going to treat him more like a goal line back? Because he crushed near the goal line, right? Then you got to factor in Taysom Hill coming in more, stealing those rushing touchdowns. We saw Drew Brees come in when Drew Brees get hurt. When Drew Brees get hurt, Taysom came in, and that really hindered Alvin Kamara. So what type of offense are we going to see? It's a weird offense, right? Again, a lot of his numbers, his inflation happened in that last championship week. Again, not to take any credit away from him, but it's something to think about when you are looking at him this year for 2021. Love him. Still love him. Don't get me wrong. But, like, what is the upside in the ceiling, right? What's going to happen this year? I got him safely at number 5 because I think the guys ahead of him that I've got listed ahead of him, the next 4, are just going to see more volume. That's the bottom line, okay? Coming in number 4 here, I got Saquon Barkley. Now, there's not much to say here other than the fact that he's a beast. He's a workhorse guy. At the end of the day, he got hurt. There's no denying it, he got hurt. So when you look at him this year, you got to assume that let's hope he doesn't get hurt. That's one thing you got to factor is like, let's hope he doesn't get hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, then we've got ourselves a situation where we've got a high ceiling running back that's going to get a ton of volume that I really like. Okay, so now I'm looking at the running backs that stepped in this year. Wayne Gallman had 130 points fantasy, which was nothing, 136 attempts. So they just didn't go to the running game because they didn't really have a good running back. Deion Lewis, 28 attempts, nothing to get, Wayne Gallman was the guy, and he pretty much did a whole lot of squat. So when you're looking at Saquon, you got to assume he's going to get the volume. He's going to get the work. He's going to want to come back angry. I got to put him in the top 4, top 5, at least because of the talent and the opportunity. There's no denying it. Again, you cannot base your rankings really based on last year. Now, logically and naturally, you feel like putting a James Robinson ahead of him because he finished 4th. So why isn't he 4th here? I can't. I love Robinson, love the upside, and I think Robinson has a better year, could finish the number 1 running back, right? But I just can't put, Saquon behind James Robinson. I just can't right now. I like the talent opportunity. I got him at 4. Number 3, Christian McCaffrey. As you know, I'm not a fan of him either. Don't like the modeling. Don't like the extracurricular activities. Don't like the fact that he's coming off an injury. But again, he is the guy. He is the focal point of that offense. And I knew that he would decline going to 2020 off 2019. But I have to put him back in here in the top 3 for now. I'm going to see how the offense gels, how the draft looks, who the quarterback is Bridgewater going to stay? What's going to happen, right? I need to know more, but based on volume, based on talent, based on opportunity, based on previous stats, got to put him at 3, okay? Coming to number 2, now who's number 1? It's a big question, and you guys would be shocked at my number 1. So, listen, number 2 is I got to go with Derrick Henry, coming off 2 good years. This guy is amazing. Knock on wood, I got to do it. This guy is arguably the best running back in the game. Now, what I love about him, obviously the rushing yards, 1,777 after 16 weeks of 2020, 5.2 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns, gets the workhorse load all the time. Again, man, like if you look at the attempts, 344 attempts, unbelievable. Like honestly, unbelievable. That's what I love to see. Love to see the points, love to see the rushing yards, love to see the physical, tough play that you expect out of your running backs, the volume, everything is there. I mean, is he going to do it for 3 years in a row? That's the big question mark. I'm going to say yes, barring any type of injury. Got to put him at number 2. There's no denying. And number 1, people are going to be shocked with this. I'm going to explain my reasoning why he's number 1 right now. The guy I'm going with is Dalvin Cook. Now, people are shocked because I wasn't a Dalvin Cook fan, and you're saying, well, Joe, you're jumping on the train now. When Dalvin Cook came into the season, I remember drafting him, and then he got hurt. And then I watched him, and I'm like, okay, he got hurt, then he got hurt again, then he got hurt again. And he hadn't finished the season. So I just wasn't going to draft him last year based on the fact that he hadn't finished the season. And I had Derrick Henry, I had Josh Jacobs, I had Montgomery's on my team, I had Taylor's on my team. I was okay at the running back position. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. Like, he hadn't finished the season for 3 years. So I was like, why was I going to draft him? Now that he's actually proven he's finished the season. And another main reason is, I can relate to him. He lost his dad, 46 years old. He lost his dad at 46 years old. I don't know the cause, don't know the reason. But I know for a guy who's lost his dad, what kind of chip on his shoulder that's going to carry and what that's going to light up under you. Now, it may or may not be the same impact for him that it was for me, but for me, it really lit a fire under my ass, after losing my dad. It was a big motivator for me. Hopefully, that could be the same thing for him. I'm going to assume and bank on the fact that it will be, right? And I hate to use a tragedy to reflect fantasy production. I hate to say that. I'm really sad for him. I did a post wishing him, all the best. And I'm sorry for his loss. And I understand a loss can be very devastating. But the point I'm trying to make is this is going to be a chip on his shoulder from what based on my experience. That's number one. Number two, let's not deny the facts that he has 312 attempts, which made him second in attempts. He crushed it in fantasy production. He's dynamic. He's explosive. He had 16 rushing touchdowns. He had 1,557 yards. Again, the attempts were there, right? 312 attempts. That's what I like to see. He is the guy. He is the guy there, barring any type of injury. So that's always going to be in the back of my mind. So I'm going to go ahead this year and actually go against everything I've kind of went against and said when it came to Dalvin Cook, because he's finally proven it to me. That's all it takes, right? You got to prove it to me. So if we're in a relationship and you do something sketchy and you basically prove yourself, hey, that wasn't sketchy, I'm okay. For example, being hurt for 3 years in a row, which really, doubted me drafting him. And we saw it. And I was right in other ways with Odell Beckham Jr. I said, I'm staying away, right? Years to wows were not wowed. Same thing with Cook. He's finally wowed me. He's proven he's finished the season. Mind you, he was hurt one game out of the season. Hopefully he doesn't continue. I might go ahead and put him at number one now based on the upside, the ceiling, the proven talent, the fact that he did well last year, finally, the loss of his dad, all the variables, the talent, the attempts, the volume, everything points to me having him at number one going into 2020 fantasy football. So those are my reasonings, guys. I got to go with it. I got to stick with it. I got to back it up. I got to stick to my words. I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook, guys, at number one for fantasy football 2020. The way it sits right now, the super early, ridiculous fantasy football 2021 RB rankings. Those are your running back rankings for 2021. Let me recap here. Dalvin Cook at number one, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, James Robinson, and David Montgomery to round out the top 10. Now I'm going to get some hate. Joe, where's other guys? Who did I leave out? Aaron Jones, where's Antonio Gibson cracked the top 10. Where are these guys, Joe? These are the guys I went with, okay? Things might change. There might be a rookie that comes in, gets the start of the depth chart, makes my top 10. I don't know yet. It's way too early to tell. Okay, I'm just processing everything right now, super early. We're trying to finish 2020 season, right? We're trying to get through the Super Bowl. I'm out here already analyzing here for you. So give me some props here for getting out here and doing this for you, okay? So that's it, guys. Those are your top 10 running backs for 2021. Super ridiculously early. Don't hold me to this, guys. Things are going to change. I appreciate you guys being here. So get the 60-round drafts, which is never too early to get in, dive in, and join the Fantasy 365 community. You're going to absolutely love it, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Man, oh man, Happy New Year. Whenever you're listening to this, it doesn't matter. 2021, let's hope it's a better year for everybody, okay? Thanks for being here, guys, and I am out. We'll talk soon.